This is Andrew Wicklund with Project Risk Consultants. We're going to go over the plan menu in Primavera Risk Pertmaster. Now the first thing that we're going to look at is the plan information. We'll just go from top to bottom on this. So the first item is the plan information. The plan information just gives you your basic information on the plan, including your data date, things like that. So there are some fields in here that are useful for the user. Your title will always show up on your charts and graphs. So make sure in here you have a title that you want to show up on your charts and graph. You can put plan notes, things like that. Your second tab for dates, you've got your data date, your user fields, cash flow, and then just basic statistics on the product. So we'll go into this in more depth later on in another module. The second item you have is your planning unit. So whether you're using day, hour, or quarter hour, generally that's going to depend on your import settings and what you are using in your basic tool. So if you were in Primavera and your planning unit was set to day, it would probably be set to day. The third item down is the task user fields, and this is how you set up user-defined fields in Primavera Risk. So if you have user-defined fields in Primavera P6 or in Microsoft Project, those will automatically import here. Activity code fields, user-defined fields, text fields in Microsoft Project, etc. If you want to set up a new one, this is where you'll come, and you'll type directly in these fields. So they're fairly easy to set up, and we'll go into those in another module as well. The third item down is Organize. Organize allows the user to come in and set up their breakdown structure by activity codes or user-defined fields. So right now I've got it set up to my work breakdown structure, but I could come in and if I had a code field for organizational breakdown, I could click Organize and change it, reorganize it by that. And then I can always go back to WBS as my original sort structure. So especially for Primavera P6 users where they're using activity codes a lot, you might come in here and sort it by area and discipline or something like that. The next item down is level resources. Since Primavera Risk was a scheduling tool long before it was anything else, the leveling resources, it's just doing a resource level like any scheduling tool would do. So you'll set up your leveling options and things of that nature. So you'll go through before leveling, what do you want it to do, what resources do you want it to level on and their priority, things like that, and it will do the resource level for you. You can save a scenario as well based on that. So if you nudge activities in Primavera Risk, you can actually nudge these activities. I can pull these out, and when I make changes to them, it'll actually let me come up here and save that scenario based on all the nudges. And then I can reset that scenario, and it'll take away all the nudges that I made directly to the Gantt chart view. So if I'm doing a scenario real quick, I can do that scenario. It'll take all my nudge dates later on, and then it'll remove it if I hit reset. So it gives you the ability to just play around with the network a little bit without saving those changes in. The next option is to set the data date. You can also get to that through the plan information field. So the data date is also known as the time now line. So in Microsoft Project, different scheduling tools, P6, they use different terminology, but it's the time now line. So the data date, the progress bar, etc. You can come in and set a baseline for the schedule. You go in, do you want to baseline the entire project, filter tasks only, and it'll set up your baseline dates, and you'll have columns for the baseline dates. With this being a scheduling tool, the next three, the calendars, the resources, and the resource tree, it's all scheduling tool related. The calendars will all import from your other scheduling tools. So you shouldn't have to use these, but if you're using Primavera Risk as a scheduling tool, then you might need to do this. Most users will never touch the calendar function. Once again, most users will never have to go in and set up resources either. Any resources you've set up in another scheduling tool, those are going to come right over, including resource calendars, leveling options, and things like that. So you can come in here and set up your leveling options as well. So that's under Plan and then Resources. You can take a look at the resource tree, but under that, Plan Options is actually one of the most important menu bar options in the entire product. The Plan Options, you've got a lot of information for how do you want the date format to look. By default, it may be using a European date format, so US users may want to come in and change that. You've got items for how you want things to display, currencies, preferences, default task types and names. We'll go through this in detail in another module dedicated just to this, but this scheduling tab is very critical. It has all the ways it's calculating the CPM logic. Every scheduling tool does this a little bit different. This will go in and based on how you're using Primavera P6 or Microsoft Project or Deltek Open Plan, it should import your settings. However, occasionally maybe there's a glitch in the system, maybe you've changed a set an option but you haven't hit F9 or rescheduled in Primavera and something didn't come over correctly, so Pertmaster didn't do the import correctly based on something that happened in the original scheduling tool. This allows you to go back and make sure it's using the options correctly. So this is going to be something that we'll walk through line by line because this is very critical. Shouldn't have to mess with it, but at the same time it is important to know this is where the options are. So if you were using retained logic in Primavera and it brought over a progress override, there would be an issue there. And the last option, you've got some items for plan utilities, and you've got a few things down here. They actually have some utilities that are very interesting. A lot of these came from a customer that asked for something and said, hey, I want to load my costs from Excel. Can you write a macro to do that and things like that. We'll go over these in separate modules. Some of these are actually very nice. Converting lags into task, loading costs from Excel, create a cost loading matrix. They're really nice features, allows you to do a quick and dirty cost loading, but a lot of people get some great value from those utilities.